All right, what's up, everybody? It says that we are live, so let's get this thing going. Really glad to be on the stream today. Was down for a couple of days due to a cold, but puts me a little behind, but that's okay. Right, so today we're going over US-based coins. That's kind of the theme of the show, but I also have a lot of really cool indicators and things like that. There goes my kind of vocal check. Make sure my mic is working well and coming through good for you guys. So let me make it so you can see what I see. So normally in the beginning of this stream, we are going to look at like a few simple things like what's Bitcoin doing, sitting at 112,000 basically, close to flat there. Ethereum 4,477. I see that's gone up a little bit. That's nice. Of course, Bitcoin in the last 24 hours is up 0.4%, so up a little bit. Looks like the market kind of, hanging out and not just dumping violently. It's nice to see that because it feels like a lot of times Bitcoin gets a little bit of a pump and then we dump pretty violently for the rest of the coins, sometimes including Bitcoin. And if you're here, drop something in the comment, like, share, subscribe. This is Underground Crypto Deep Dive Research. If you're watching this later, the sauce is still here, so don't be afraid to follow along. Again, I have a bunch of different indicators like the bubble map. Now, if you've watched other streams, you're probably familiar with the crypto bubbles, but I think this is a good thing to add into starting our stream off because it kind of shows you what's going on. And if you just click, like this says M up 20%. If you don't know what it is, you just click on it, meme core. And this is cryptobubbles.net. I found a bunch of cool other kind of data analytical things like this. This just makes it really simple to follow some data, because if the bubbles are bigger, if the pumps are bigger, that kind of thing. And this is helpful, I feel like, when we're doing deep dive and research because it allows us to really, see what's going on in the market from a more visual perspective that might be easier for people. So I'll be popping in and out of that. And you can change it, by the way, from like hours to week. As you can see on the day, M was up 20%, but if you go to the hour, it's down 1.1%, and Maker's up 1.4%, and Sky, which is, what is Sky affiliated with? Spark token. So Pith is down 1.2%. We've watched Pith pump a bunch. So just like our usual recap here, what is going on? What are the prices of XRP? $2.98. And Solana, I was on the wrong window, $2.11, $211. Like I said, I've been sick for a couple of days, so I'm off my game just a little bit, but bear with me, guys. I couldn't bear to not do the stream. I'm addicted to doing the stream and this research with y'all. Also, the Discord link in the description. Hop on in there. I'd love to see some more people over there. I know eventually it'll fill up. I have complete faith, but it is a new Discord, and we're just getting it started. So, of course, it's going to take a little while. And hit that like, share, subscribe button. Dogecoin, 22 cents. Cardano, 84 cents. Tron, 34, if anybody cares about Tron. I was never big into Tron. Chainlink, $23. And Hyperliquid's usually where we stop here, $46. So that's kind of where everything's sitting. Let's go look at what is trending. Of course, this kind of plays right into what we are going over today. Is World Liberty Financial has been trending a bunch. Right now in the last 24 hours, though, it's down 4.3%. It doesn't even have a 7-day because it hasn't even been out that long. So then we have some other trenders, these collector crypt. I looked at it earlier. So if you're familiar at all in the world of trading cards and stuff like that, which I guess you could consider to be a real world asset. I was a little surprised to see this, but this collector crypt. And why do we do this? Because we want to keep a pulse on what is popular and stuff. You might be able to get into things rather early. It has a $78 million market cap already. Max Chart says that it came out back August 30th, 2025. So, and it started at about 2 cents. It ran up to 20 cents. It's up 655% or a 6.5x since it came out, or at least since CoinGecko started tracking it, right? And if we go to their website, I thought this was rather interesting if you've ever dealt with cards. Maybe you were a kid. Maybe you had some Pokemon cards or something like that. This is basically how it works. So we'll take it straight from the source instead of me just explaining it off of memory. Send your card to our secured vault, including PCA, PWCC, and ALT. If you're familiar with cards and trading, you'll know what that means. And cards are authenticated, scanned, and linked to your profile or wallet. So basically making it a real-world asset on-chain. Buy and sell transfer cards accurately at a fraction of competitors' price. So now that they've all been scanned and updated on whose ownership on the blockchain and validated to be authentic, you can trade them and stuff. And you don't have to worry so much about shipping and them getting damaged in shipping and all of those kind of things. And then I assume that if you ever wanted to get them out, you can do that. I don't really know how that works, you know. They don't really say, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but thought it was really interesting, and it was a different niche or a different narrative. Yes, it's real world assets, which is something that we probably have heard a lot. I've done streams on real world assets. I hope you know what that is if you're in crypto. But at the same time, haven't quite seen anybody doing this. Pretty interesting. And could be, if you're somebody who does a lot of card selling and stuff and you have some really rare cards, might be worth doing. Go back. I always have to hit the back button like 5 times. I don't know what's up with that. So Portal to Bitcoin, this is one that I saw earlier and I did not get to look at. So we're really just going over what the trending coins are. Are they new? Are they just trending for some reason on social media? So this has only been around since September 3rd, 2025. That is literally today. $52.5 million in market cap, pretty fast. And that's, again, not to be repetitive, when CoinGecko has started tracking it. Yes, it was probably around for a week or a few days before then, has an Ethereum contract. And so what is Portal Bitcoin? Is this like layer 2 Bitcoin? Is this, DeFi Bitcoin? What is it? Of course, I'm going to decline all the cookies. Millions of trust minimized markets on Bitcoin. Okay, that feels like a weird sentence, like it's just not written right. Portal's BitScaler makes Bitcoin the settlement layer for millions of on-chain and real-world assets while maintaining trust minimization, speed, low transaction fees, and exceptional user experience. Boy, this bright light in my face is making it really hard to read. Who put that bright light there? I think it was me. Bitcoin from digital gold to settlement layers for millions of markets. Hit that like, share, subscribe button. Everybody, drop something in the comments if you're here. Let me know you're here. We're upcoming YouTube channel. I love to see people drop something in the comments. Makes me feel like I'm not just talking to myself. Portal OS and BitScaler. So as we always say on Underground Crypto, narrative. Know your category, know your niches, know maybe how different categories and niches play with each other, like how they work with each other, or if they're kind of like you see one pumping, the other one's going to be dumping, that kind of thing. And what is our niche here? So, category Bitcoin for sure. Trying to get a little bit of a feel for what the heck the point of this is. Built using BitScaler liquidity router. The bridgeless liquidity hub for assets built on Bitcoin layer. Okay, so this is about building on Bitcoin, DeFi on Bitcoin. For those who don't know, DeFi on Bitcoin is a bit of a controversial topic because you have what they call maxis, or people who just want Bitcoin and they don't want anything else, right? They don't really see the value in any other cryptos. They just see the value of Bitcoin. So they don't really like it because they feel like somehow it's going to compromise security or mess up the order books or the transactions, slow them down. There'll be too many. They'll get congested, that kind of thing. And then you have the other people who maybe are Bitcoin maximalists and they actually want everything to be on Bitcoin because they're all about Bitcoin and they think Bitcoin can do it better. And that's where you get the Lightning layer or Lightning network on Bitcoin, things like that. And so this seems like it is building in that area. What is Rafa? Let's see. Generate AI for cryptos. Get your own team of AI agents to maximize your crypto investing. Another thing to talk about is all of these AI agents, they're everywhere. I think it's a great narrative. I think it's like meme coin meets like real use case, which is really cool. But how to kind of like set them up and use them, you kind of got to put some thought into it. You know, you can't just like find one random one and then run off and try to make it, you know, make you millions of dollars in crypto. They all do different things. You got to kind of know how to do them. Some of them you have to actually pay for. And so it can be a little bit more, I guess, tech savvy and things like that for the average person. If we thought that people had trouble getting into crypto, well, that is going to make it much more difficult, right? All right, so that's enough of that. I just really wanted to know what that is in case we keep seeing it. It's new, so it just came out. Had a pretty big market cap, though. So what else is trending here? Solana, Ondo, Crow. Crow's been trending. Pump.fun, Solana, basically. What is this SOMI? And yes, we are going to be talking about US-based cryptos. Now, one of the main reasons why I brought this up is I saw it a lot as a narrative that at some point US-based cryptos were going to be less taxed, tax exempt maybe even. And so I pulled some information about that as well. Are they actually going to be tax exempt or anything like that? We don't know. So far, we don't know, and I have pulled some information about that. We're going to go over it shortly. Right now, we're looking at what is trending. So 45 cents for this Somnia, and what is it? Let's go right down here. It's a layer 1. Okay, that's interesting. It's a gaming blockchain. Always speaking my language there with the gaming blockchain. Let's check out their website just for a quick second. What do you see when you close your eyes? I mean, I assume the right answer would be blackness, right? Okay, is anything going to happen? Do I just scroll? Are my eyes closed so they don't show us anything? That took way too long, in my opinion. So, drag to explore. Okay. Very interesting website where you kind of drag around. They have these kind of markers in the corner. Feels very game-ish, actually. We look at a lot of websites, like a lot of websites here at Underground Crypto. This is probably one of the funner websites that I've been on. Pretty cool. Whoever came up with this concept, I've seen a few other like this, but this concept is pretty dope. But we're not going to spend a ton of time on it. We know what it is. It's a layer 1. They're about gaming. Hopefully, we will be deep diving them more in the future, but not today because we want to focus on what we want to focus on. So let's go to our categories here of top made in USA coins by market cap. Normally we go look at the biggest gainer, the biggest losers of the day, but I'm going to break it up a little bit to make the show maybe a little more interesting for those who are watching along here. So XRP. So I'm going to name a bunch of these. We're going to kind of read down the list just so people know what is considered a US-based currency. And usually it's because their headquarters is in America. That seems to be the most like defining factor that I can find about it. So first we're going to kind of read over all the different coins that are considered, you know, American cryptos or American-based cryptos. And then we're going to go look at some information about like what that means and why that might be important. So XRP, Solana, of course, stablecoin USDC, Cardano, Chainlink, Figure HELOC, which I don't know what that is. It's kind of at 99 cents, makes me think it is a stablecoin. Sounds familiar. SWI, XLM, Avalanche, HBAR, Litecoin, World Liberty Finance. They got that up there fast, huh? So Polkadot, Uniswap, Near Protocol, Aptos, Ondo, Pi Network, Arbitrum, Story, which is a relatively new coin, Caspa, Algorand, Pudgy Penguins, Render, WorldCoin, Psy, Trump, the official coin, that is, Filecoin, Bonk, Jupiter, Injective, Optimism, this PayPal USD, because they do have their own stablecoin, Stacks, Aerodrome Finance. I love to see that one included, of course. The Graph, Theta Network, Tezos. So a lot of coins you would know. Gala, Ripple, the RLUSD, right? So the stable coin of Ripple, that is, because we already said XRP. We got this JTO, which I'm not familiar with. Zcash, which is an old one. Not sure how relevant that is. Frax Ether, DYDX, which is a decentralized exchange. Helium, Telcoin, reserve rights. What is this? Looks like Engine Cloud. Not really familiar with that one. Compound, Kava. These are all coins that are considered, at least by CoinGecko, to be US based, right? Kava, Wormhole, Onyx Coin, I think it's supposed to be. Superverse, we've gone over that one a couple times. Zbeck Network, it's been hot lately. EOS, I think is how most people say it. Movement, Akash Network, XLR, Dash, Credit Coin, whatever that is. AMP, Decred, IoTech, Kusama, Frax, Theta Fuel, Plume is real world assets, OX Protocol, Basic Attention Coin, that's been around for a really long time, Arkham, which is like a data, putting all a bunch of data together, Mina Protocol, Mina, if you're familiar with that, it's been around a while, Ravencoin, Blur, Zeta Chain, I remember when that came out. So Metal Blockchain, CeeLo, Scale, Sia Coin, which we went over recently, XRP Network, which XPR Network. See, they do that on purpose there. So we got this Anchor Network, Harmony One, which has been around for a while. It's a layer one. Digibyte, Melania, the meme, Chia. That one will come up in our research that I have pulled up for us. XYO Network, Orica. So there's just tons of coin. I'm not sure when this stopped. We almost have reached the bottom, so we'll go ahead and just, continue on here. Horizon, Nano, Cadena, Alio, Stronghold, and then AI16Z, Moonwell, and Venice Token. So why did I read all of those things? I read them because they're all US-based tokens. Yes, we will be looking at some of these tokens, but the reason why I brought this up is what we're going to get to next here. So which cryptos are truly made in the US? Here's a list. I'm not going to read all of them, but one thing I will point out is, like, for example, XRP was developed by Ripples Labs, so there's a company behind it in San Francisco. Solana, California, which is obviously San Francisco's in California, but they just chose to put, Solana Labs, the company behind it. And it goes on and so forth, showing you kind of where they are located and why they would be considered US based. So we'll skip most of that. The future of American blockchain innovation. So when we're deep diving, a lot of times we're looking specifically at tokens, right? But we don't want to get lost so much that we don't pay attention to large narratives in crypto that might impact us a little bit as well. So the future of American blockchain innovation. So tokenization of traditional assets, it's gaining traction. So Galaxy Digital now allows institutional shareholders to convert US registered stocks into blockchain based tokens, offering full legal equivalent. Well, I'm sure that, okay, so it does say that institutional shareholders to convert US registered stocks. So it being a US based crypto could be good. Like, say you were about to get something for your portfolio, right? I'm not a financial advisor and I don't tell people what to do with their money. We're about research and information, right? But if you knew that you were torn between, say, two different projects and you knew one of them was a US registered, company, because this says stocks, but I'm sure this is going to also apply to US cryptos as well. So into blockchain based tokens. So you might then think that there might be an edge or an advantage to picking the US based crypto versus one that's not. And I think that that's going to play out actually pretty well for a lot of people. So institutional custody is back. U.S. Bancorp relaunched institutional Bitcoin custody service triggered by growing demand for spot BTC ETFs. This is a clear sign of institutional normalization of crypto. That's going hand in hand with what I had just said. So Figure Technologies IPO. This U.S. blockchain lender is preparing to go public with a valuation of $4.1 billion, not too small, signaling renewed investor appetite for regulated crypto-adjacent financial services. How regulation and policy impacts U.S. crypto. So this is all of us talking about why we are worried about if a crypto is US based or not, right? For anybody who's hopping in, I want you to understand why we're going over this. How regulation and policy impacts US crypto, right? The Genius Act just went through. I made a pre-recorded video about the Genius Act, just trying to make it as simple to understand as possible, right? But here's the gist of it. It requires stablecoin issuers to maintain strict one-to-one backing with high-quality assets, mandates audits, and introduces dual federal and state oversight. In my opinion, that's good. Get rid of a lot of the wishy-washiness or just the lack of certainty and trust when it comes to a lot of things. Might as well start with stablecoins. Kind of seems like they were starting from the bottom up, right? So clarity and anti-CBDC surveillance state act. These acts shift enforcement from the SEC to the CFTC while preventing the Federal Reserve from launching a CBDC. So Project Crypto, now this was a launch by the chairman of the SEC, Paul Atkins, bringing clarity to token classification, encouraging integration of DeFi, staking, token launch, and licensed super apps. This lowers compliance barriers and fosters innovation. Now, maybe you've been around in crypto for a while, maybe you haven't, but this is something that people have kind of screamed from the rooftops for a while as the SEC went after a lot of different crypto projects for not knowing, for not doing things right, but then they never told them, they never clarified, as this says here, what token classifications, what you can do, what you can't do. They kind of just didn't tell anybody anything and then tried to persecute them for messing up when you couldn't have really known what to do, right? And that kept a lot of competitors out of the United States. So this is actually really important, this Project Crypto by, of course, Paul Atkins, who is the chair of the SEC. That is actually quite important. So spot crypto trading clarity, more clarity. SEC and FTC staff confirmed that spot crypto can be traded on regulated exchanges under existing structures, signaling regulatory confidence. So all of these people who maybe deal with a lot more traditional assets, stocks, stuff like that, maybe there's a platform that you've been using for years for that kind of thing, or your dad uses for that kind of thing. Now they're going to be able to more confidently integrate crypto, which is going to bring more people from the traditional TradFi part of finance into crypto. Maybe they don't put a lot of money at first of their portfolios, but if they see them go up, they'll be more interested in putting more money, bringing more money to the rest of us who've already invested in crypto, right? Institutional infrastructure and expansion. So while evolving regulation and ETF growth, institutional players like US Bancorp, Citi, and NYDIG or New York Dig are actively building custody, trading, and tokenization products. So it's telling you the institutional are building infrastructure and expanding their infrastructure to incorporate all these things because they know that crypto is not going anywhere. Yes, we will, and this is my opinion, not financial advice. Yes, we will have, in my opinion, bull markets, bear markets. Will the 4-year cycle stay intact? Are we looking at a super cycle? Is that a one-time deal and then we go back to it? Are the 4-year cycles over? We don't know any of that kind of stuff. But is it going to be important crypto with TradFi moving forward, more and more integrated? I think that's an absolute yes. But that's my opinion. Why institutional investors are watching these tokens? So, of course, ETFs and custody solutions. ETFs, of course, bring an on-ramp for that institutional money into crypto. Fiat-aligned assets, so USDC and other regulated stablecoins backed by US dollar and transparent reserves are seen as low risk. You got to know that your hedge funds and things love low risk entry points in crypto. And let's not get too long-winded on that. Let's hop back over to our Made in Crypto. But first, I really wanted to show you something really cool. So we looked over at crypto bubbles, right? And I want to incorporate a lot more of these in the show. Just easy, graphic ways of looking at information, right? So when I was doing that, I found another one called Crypto Bubbles 2.0. And if you don't know about the tab on Google Chrome, just want to shout it out for a minute. Obviously not paid for. It just allows you to take a ton of tabs and go ahead and tab them all in this one thing. You can even go to more over here and lock them. Super helpful if you are doing a lot of research and deep diving and that kind of thing. Anyway, so you got this volume 2 bubble maps, right? So I first opened this up and I came to here, made a quick little, user password and stuff like that. And you can go, and this is exploring tokens, right? So it's almost like bubble maps. And I was like, where are all the actual bubbles, right? Well, if you actually click on something, so let's go to Solana and pick a coin on Solana, then it kind of generates this bubble map, right? And I'm new to this, so I'm just kind of getting used to it. And it kind of gives you a little bit of information. This one looks very different from the one I looked at before. So let's go back to the one I was actually looking at before. But all these different things are talking about deep diving and research. If you're building portfolios and trying to figure out where to allocate money and stuff, these type of things can be really useful. So let's look at Afro real quick, right? And it interconnects a lot of these wallets. It shows you like who the biggest holder is. So the biggest address that's holding is 6.7% of the like total supply. So these is good information. Like you come here and you're looking at a little meme coin, right? And then there's 20% to one address. Not telling you what to do, but I would be running away from that because that's how people dump on you, right? And of course, they can break them up just so, you know, we're 100% transparent. They can break them up between as many addresses as they want and still control them and still own, you know. If you took the top 10 or 15 or 20 of these addresses and say they were all owned by the same person, just broken up to look good on chain analytics, they can still dump easily. So it's not 100% foolproof, but it is a good way to at least do your due diligence before you invest in something, right? So we're probably going to be using this as I play with it a little bit more and learn a little bit more about it. Just thought it was really cool, and to let you know, we are going to be progressing and adding several more things into the live stream. All right, so let's go down the list of American cryptos. And of course, I'm kind of hosting this here, so I'm going to be clicking things I don't know what they are, because there's no point in going over Cardano and Chainlink. Like most of you guys know what that is. If you don't, I've done streams on them before, and I'm sure we will go over them again at other points in our deep dives. This is Monday through Friday for me, so we're going to be doing this all the time, unless I guess I'm sick and my voice is totally messed up. I would have still done the streams these last couple of days, but my voice was terrible. So we have this figure HELOC, right? Number 18 by market cap. Is that correct? How do I not know what this is? This is really interesting, but there's so much out here. This is why we do this deep dive and research. If I wasn't doing this right now, I would never learn what this coin is. And again, oh yeah, we looked at it earlier. I feel like it is a stable coin. It says real world assets, right? It does have the made in USA kind of category, tokenized private credit. So in my mind right there, I would know that it's kind of like financial, which would, in my mind, be a category. Now, you can niche it into different things. Like this says private credit. So the category would be financial in my mind. The niche would be private credit. So your home, debt consolidation. This is really interesting because this really seems like more of a TradFi product, but it's crypto. So this is very interesting to me. This coin, or what looks to be like a stable coin, just seems to be their way of allocating funds. Borrow up to $750,000 with the option to withdraw up to 100%. Okay, hold on. This is called HELOC, right? Like a HELOC loan. I don't know why I didn't put that together. The number one non-bank home equity line of credit in the U.S. Okay, this is very interesting. You know, personally, I had some issues trying to get HELOC loan on my property. So this could have been a useful thing to me that I didn't know about. I don't know how they go about it. So now we know what it is. Okay, it's for HELOC loans and stuff. Very interesting. Number 18 by market cap. So it must be effective. Like people must be using it. That's my opinion. So let's see. We know what SWE is. Stellar, Avalanche, Litecoin. World Liberty Finance. I'm pretty sure you guys know what this is, but it is a new coin. So we probably should look at it. Its max chart probably looks the same as its 7-day chart. Because, again, this thing has been out since September 1st, 2025. Not very long. Quick check on how we're doing with the stream. Just want to see how many people are on, where we're at right now. All right. So we got $5.9 billion in market cap. The people behind this, I guess, are not playing around. They have quite a bit of money in the market cap, like instantly number 35 by market cap. Whew, if you could have got into that early somehow, I'm sure that would have been amazing. So Ethereum contract interoperable, meaning it works with other blockchains. Binance Smart Chain, I love to see that. Solana, I think that's a given. Surprised we don't have base blockchain. I wouldn't be surprised if that is coming shortly. So it's in the Ethereum ecosystem mostly. Let's go to the website. And my thing doesn't want to let me go there. But we're going to visit it anyway. Just bypass. Why do we pay for that? I don't even know. Where DeFi meets TradFi. Good narrative. I like that narrative there. Bridging legacy finance and the open economy with purpose-built on-chain products. So most people know who's behind this coin. Let's reject these cookies here. All right. Maybe you love it, maybe you hate it. That's your own personal opinion. We're here for deep dive in crypto. And so that's just that, and we're going to keep it right there for right now. Unlock WLFI, World Liberty Finance, and start trading. So available on the following blockchain networks. We just went over that. Their product designing the core products of tomorrow financial system for institution and individuals alike. Man, I can't talk. So it seems like they really want to be right at the forefront of this all digital crypto stuff coming into TradFi, which I believe that the people behind this are quite familiar with the TradFi part of this and really helping to, I guess, make it go smoothly, be at the forefront of it, capitalize off of it. I'm sure all of those things. So you can get their app and deposit crypto via wallet or bank account. So hopefully they've made it easy to access. Spend by accessing your liquidity anytime. This is really interesting. I definitely have heard a lot of things about the platform and all the things that will be on the platform. And if it works well, then they're probably going to get a lot of use case and a lot of people over there, especially the people that love who's behind this project. So, of course, given the people that are behind that project, you know, the president and his family or whatever, however it's set up, I think that's going to continue to get a lot of attention. It's only sitting at 21 cents, but it does have a very large market cap. So I would be putting that into perspective personally if I was thinking about it, and I was, and still kind of am, thinking about allocating some funds over to that. But I don't know how great it's going to be. I know they play around with some big money. So $5.6 billion that we were talking about might not be, might be the tip of the iceberg for them. I don't know. So Polkadot, I really just don't like Polkadot. Can I say that freely? That's my personal opinion. I don't like Polkadot, and so I mostly avoid going over it anytime possible. I didn't need to tell you that, but we're transparent here at Underground Crypto, right? Because we are deep diving. Arbitrum, Story. I'm really looking for things that are considered American cryptos that most people probably don't know about. Injective is one that's been around for a long time. I'll click on that for a minute because if you're new and you haven't been in crypto for a while, you probably don't know what Injective is. So anybody who's here, hit that like, share, subscribe button. Drop us a comment. If there's anything you want me to go over, because we're such a new channel, I will deviate from the stream and go over something for you if that's what you'd like. I won't tell you what to do with your money. Not a financial advisor. So this is Injective, 13.29, so $13.29. $1.2 billion in its market cap, making it number 101 by market cap, so not too small. I like that it only has 100 million in its total supply. Doesn't even say max supply, it just says total supply. That's a little weird. 97.7 million in its circulating supply, so almost fully vested there. Ethereum contract, Cosmos, Osmios, Secret, and BNB are all different chains that it works with. Let's go down to its categories, which it has a lot of them. So decentralized finance, layer 1, real world assets, RWAs, proof of stake, and then different portfolios that they're in. That's usually not worth reading off. And then, of course, our Made in USA. But you might be wondering, what the heck is Injective, right? So the future starts here. And if anybody's hopping in, I see the number going up. We are just talking about Made in America assets. We've gone over a little bit of what that means and why that's important. And I will be hopping back to that information in a minute. But we just want to look at some things that are Made in America cryptos that maybe you don't know what they are. The future starts here. And I'll ask you, do you know which coins in your portfolio are considered Made in America? The blockchain built for finance, plug and play modules. So the blockchain built for finance. So here you know, Injective, injecting, liquidity, seems to all really line up here. So, and it's got to be a financial, category. Whatever you need, it's on Injective. So they have all kinds of different things here. You got Pith. So this is featured across. Explore the ecosystem. Injective has the largest and fastest growing Web3 financial ecosystem in the game. Is that true? Bought some Injective a long time ago. Hopefully it didn't crash with one of those exchanges that crashed. I didn't have any money on FTX. I will be saying I'm happy about that. But there was another one that crashed that I can't even remember the name of at this point that I did have like a little bit of money on, and it sucked. So yeah, self-custody. Not your keys, not your crypto, as they say. So they got some dApps, Hydra Protocol, Helix, Ninja Blades. I mean, unless you're really interested in financial stuff, you probably have no idea what any of those things are. And of course, Kickstart for better financial future, create a wallet, get Injective, bridge assets, stake Injective. Injective's not a layer 1 though. Yeah, it's on Ethereum. Smart contract platform. So, it is a layer 1. Okay, so Injective is a layer 1. That's something I probably should have known, and is a testimony to why we do these deep dives and research, because there's just way too much to know in crypto all the time. You got to stay up to date. Injective, I bought some a long time ago, but I was one of those people many years ago who bought something like Injective and had no idea what I was even buying, right? 80 cents. At October 29th, 2020 is what CoinGecko is tracking it back to. And it had, looks like, a high of, what was it, $42? It's called, $48. So this thing in its lifetime has done about a 16x. That's not too shabby. So let's go back and see if we can't find some more projects that are considered US based. Not sure why I have to hit the back button like 5 times to make it back up, but it is what it is. So Aerodrome Finance, it's probably not one I really need to go over, but is a project that I personally, to be transparent, am invested in and think is going to do really well, provides liquidity on the base blockchain. I've said on this many times that I'm a big fan of anything that provides liquidity to an ecosystem or a blockchain, a layer 1, if you will. That's kind of my sauce right now. I do like buying those kind of things. Deep Book on Sui also comes to mind. I think we've all agreed that it's Sui. I remember when everybody used to call it Sui. Anyways, DYDX, although I do know what it is, I would like to check it out just for everybody here. 81.3%. And for anybody who's watching, if there's anything that you saw on the list that you don't know what it is, please drop it in the comments. Be a part of the deep dive in the research. So $467.3 million in market cap. What is this chain that it's on? Is this a layer 1 itself? Maybe. Yeah, it's a layer 1 itself, which makes sense. It is a decentralized exchange. And it's on Osmosis. I don't know why I always want to say Osmosis. It's Osmosis. And, of course, its own layer 1. And this is a decentralized exchange. How long has it been around? Since November 26, 2023, so a couple of years. Nice market cap, though, 183 by market cap. And let's go check out their website. Of course, I'm expecting to see an exchange-looking website, right? And that is exactly what we're getting. Don't think I've ever been to DYDX website before. So if you're somebody who's into trading and doing all that kind of stuff, this is not a TA channel, so we won't be talking a bunch of TA. But The whole idea of centralized exchanges, for most traders and people, they don't think there is anything else out there besides a centralized exchange. Well, there are a lot of popping up decentralized exchange. Now let's go look at their different pairs that they have, because this has been around for a while, so I would expect them to have a lot of different pairs, and they do. So this, to me, just based off of how many pairs they have, and wow, they have pages of them. This is great. A lot of the other ones that I've looked at that kind of tout to be decentralized exchanges have very limited pairs, which is fine if they have the one you want to trade, but not so great if they don't. This DYDX seems to have a ton of pairs. And if you've ever done any trading, you get the idea. You see the way it's set up. You know what we're talking about. If not, well, that'll have to be explained to you another time, because we could go down a long rabbit hole when it comes to that. Helium. Now, a lot of people know what helium is, but I'm going to bring it up anyways, because it's been a long time since I visited Helium, tokenomics, and the website and stuff like that. So we'll take a look at it for a minute. Again, we're going over US-based cryptos. Now, why are we doing that? Well, the first and most important reason, I guess, that I originally decided to go over these things is because there's this narrative that's been around both in crypto and politically for a little while here, that at some point we were going to get American-based cryptos to be rather tax exempt from, say, capital gains tax or tax in general, or lowered percentage-wise, because capital gains tax and stuff like that can be quite high, that it was going to be lowered. Now, not to be political, but personally, I was hoping that was going to happen, because that would have been great for us to get that. Kind of feel like we would have needed it by now already. But at the end of the year, if the 4-year cycle is true and you sell your cryptocurrency at quote unquote the top, because remember, that's retrospective. You don't know if it was the top until later. You're not going to know when the top is. And most people who tell you they do, they don't. And it would have been nice to get some tax-free money on that, right? Not have to pay 10, 12, 15 or more % on that money, depending on how long you've held it. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. These are just my thoughts and the things that I'm trying to do with my crypto. So, website. And how long had Helium been around? Kind of got distracted with my own talk there. So, May 20th, 2000, April 17th, even, 2020, at about 12 cents is when CoinGecko started tracking it. Had this big blow off at $51.42. And now it's at $2.49. So there you go. Solana contract. I know there's a lot of people who believe in Helium. There's even been some talk about how Helium maybe has revamped itself and is going to, roll out a bunch of things it's built and stuff like that. I don't know how true that is. I don't spend a lot of time focusing on Helium. So, Own the Air. Helium allows anyone to build on the massive wireless network. Now, what is Helium? Helium is building a network of, I guess, Wi-Fi, mobility for phones and stuff like that. And it's probably several other things, right? Because it also says Internet of Things network. You got Helium token, the Helium world, and then some even hardware type things. So the mobile network, I think, is the biggest focus for most people. There's a couple other projects that fit this narrative as well, right? You get a piece of hardware or something, a Wi-Fi router, something of that nature, and you hook it up, and then people can tap into it, and that everybody who does that builds this big network, and you could use your phone off of it and different things. I'm not sure. I highly doubt they have a phone of their own, but they might. And that's basically how you mine the actual currency. Obviously, you could buy it on exchanges and stuff like that. But if you wanted to mine it, and make more money, that is theoretically how it would go. It's crowd-built cellular, which is a really cool idea. They've been at it for a while. Let's learn about Helium Plus, right? They've been at it for a while now. How successful they've really been at building a network, I have absolutely no idea. Would be interested to know. Try not to get too lost on any specific project here, but I would really like to see the products. So what do we got? We got a roadmap, support. The roadmap seems like an interesting thing to go over as well. And for anybody who's just tuning in, yes, I was sick for a couple of days, so if I'm off my game a little bit, that is why. But still support your boy, hit the like button, and subscribe. Gateway to the future of decentralized wireless. Also, Discord is in the description. Made sure the right link was there. Hop over. I do post everything that I go over every day over in the, little category where I post those things, so it's separated from everything else. If you missed a stream and you just want to see what we went over. So leading up to the Helium House at Breakpoint 2025, the Helium team will be making stops around the globe to spark innovation, foster collaboration, and help grow the Helium network. That's pretty cool. Of course, there's Token 2049 in Singapore and different events coming up. All right, let's just go to the road. Oh, that says road trip. I thought they had a road map. No, that says road trip. I read that wrong. All right, so let's get off of Helium. I know most people probably don't want to hear about Helium. I'm not real big in it myself. And they were number 185 by market cap, if you know what that means. And the usual, hit the back button 8 times before it moves. So we got Telcoin. Not sure what Telcoin is. Let's see what category or narrative that is. So decentralized finance, DeFi, of course, wallets and payment solutions. Let's go right to their website, kind of move through this one a little quicker. Building the Internet of Money, Telcoin is revolutionizing global finance by uniting blockchain technology, digital bank, and telecommunications. Kind of seems right in the vein of with telecommunications, Helium as well. So let's go see what they got from market cap here. $475 million. Okay. It's not a little bit, but it's not a lot either. Multiple currency stablecoins powering the Internet of Money. The website looks pretty good, I think. I don't know how much I, feel like they're doing with all of these without really knowing how well they've done. I don't know how much I believe in the project itself. So Telcoin, I'm going to put it in the same category as Helium, with building like a mobile network, telecommunication, that kind of thing. Now let's hop back over to our categories here and maybe go over a little bit more things. So we talked about why institutional investors, same thing, are watching these tokens, ones that are US based. And we stopped about here. So tokenized assets and on-chain efficiency, Galaxy Digital tokenized stocks open trading avenues for institutional participants seeking blockchain native equities. So it's kind of a fancy word for saying they're going to let institutional participants buy blockchain native tokens. Regulatory clarity with the Genius Act, Project Crypto, which we talked about those before. If you don't know what those are, you should probably figure that out or just watch this from the beginning. The clear custody framework, institutional investors are gaining the confidence to allocate crypto to US-based crypto assets. Key DeFi, NFTs, and Web3 opportunities in these ecosystems. So let's see what they got for us here. Solana, home to a vibrant NFT and DeFi landscape, known for lightning fast transaction. Okay, we don't need to break down on what each one of these are. Except for this Chia, I thought was interesting. So eco-friendly Web3 infrastructure that appeals to green, conscious developers and dApp creators. There is that narrative in crypto. It is something that Bitcoin has been criticized for. I think it was like the main criticism forever of Bitcoin, which I thought was a little silly if you really know the ins and outs of the argument a little bit. But that's that it used a lot of energy and it was like wasting energy or something like that. There's a lot of energy that goes completely unused in the grids and the systems, and it's kind of more of just making use of it. That's my opinion. But anyways, Chia is hitting that green conscious type of thing. And let's go find Chia real quick, because that was one in my kind of research there that came up that I wasn't 100% sure what the heck it was. I did read it earlier. Let's go to Chia. And Chia's number 407 by market cap. See how long it's been out, because again, like I said, I was not really familiar with it. Come on. So May 3rd, 2021. With a height of $1,551, right? So, this is one of those ones where people get in and they look at the all-time high and they're like, oh, if it ever went back to its all-time high with a coin like this, that far back, that big of a high, nothing but flatness for a really long time, probably not happening anytime soon. That's my opinion. Let's do this real quick, all right? Just had to stop. Let's go to market cap. I do love how they allow you to look at market cap here. So just for perspective, the market cap back then when it had that high, hopefully this lines up well, $583 million, right? And now, let's just look at like a month chart, right? Now there is only 137. So there is quite a bit of market cap that it would have to recover. I'm not even sure if that really lines up right because that doesn't quite make sense to me. So let's try that again. So May 3rd, let's see where that high was. That was May 14th, 2021. So when we switch to market cap, yeah, okay. So that is right there. So again, still a lot of market cap it would have to recover. That is the point. Let's go to their website, check it out for a half a second. This is not my cup of tea. Both narrative and looking at that chart was awful, in my opinion. 24/7 global market built on third-generation blockchain technology. Maybe they're too advanced. Maybe they're too ahead of it for everybody to understand how much greatness they have because people sure dumped the heck out of it and never bought back in. And I'm good. Sometimes you just really get that vibe when you've been doing this enough. You look at a coin like this. I was interested because it came up in my deep dive and I wasn't familiar with it. But after looking at that chart, I don't personally have good feelings that that project is going to do anything anytime soon as far as price goes up. And so let's see, XYO network. Let's look at that one. Also a coin I bought a long time ago. And I probably had no idea what it was a long time ago. So July 11th, 2018. This thing's been around for a while. $142.6 million in its market cap. Oh, we're still on the market cap. Let's go to price. So it says 0.004. That's what it came out at. No idea when I got into this thing, though. But I like to see that it's a US-based crypto because I am still holding it. So it's trying to get this exact top. I don't know why CoinGecko makes this so difficult to just grab that exact top or zoom in. Don't think they let you zoom in. I'm going to try this. Probably not going to work at all. Yeah, that was a terrible idea. Apologize. Let's see if we can get close to the top here. So I can hit it, but I can't get it. Okay, so it looks like almost 7 cents, 0.069 at November 5th, 2021. And right now we're sitting at literally 1 cent. But if you go to, say, the month chart, it's had a couple of nice little spikes here recently. Even the 3-month chart is probably better. I only know that because I hold this coin. I don't think it's going to do anything ridiculous. But I threw a little bit of money into it a while ago and just held it. The world's first scalable blockchain built for data. So they're all about the data. Got the token, the coin. Now there's this Earn Coin app. I've used this a bit to see if it was profitable. If you at all know what this XYO app that they have, it's like mining geological data. You can't make any money with it. I'm going to be completely transparent. I had the app for a long time. I've done it for a long time. It was stupid. As far as earning money now, if you're like a big believer in geo mining data or something, maybe one day it'll be great. But like they give you a different token in the app just to give like, some tea for 2 seconds. They give you a different token in the app and then you can like redeem it for XYO, but you have to have a lot of the token and you get very little XYO. Like you'll get like 15 XYO for like, I don't know, 100,000 of whatever the native in-app coin is, right? And it just doesn't translate to a lot of money. I think they're making a lot of money off of you with that app, selling the geomine data, and they're not giving you very much of it. So the data economy on chain. Established in 2018, XYO is the original DPIN. The XYO protocol reaches new heights with the upcoming XYO layer, the layer 1 chain, right, of XYO. The world's first fully scalable layer 1 chain built specifically for data, the future we are creating from AI to RWAs. So they claim they're in the arena of AI and RWAs. I don't really know much about that for this project. And even massive worldwide gaming platforms. Okay. So they provide a lot of data, and so I guess they're feeding maybe AI or RWA projects, gaming platforms. It's interesting because when we did RWA deep dives and stuff, this coin did not really come up on the radar at that point, or at least I don't remember it coming up on the radar. So let's go back, see if we can find some other US native coins that maybe you don't know what they are, or I don't know what they are. So Orca, pretty sure it's a decentralized exchange on Solana. Let's see if I'm right here. So a lot of coins to keep in your head all the time. Yep, decentralized exchange on Solana. Just to see for 2 seconds what that looks like, just for everybody at home. Hit that like, share, subscribe. Bell notification to see when we go live, Monday through Friday, for anybody just hopping in. So Wavebreak is now live in beta, so that must be something new. What is Wavebreak? Orca's new human-first launch pad. Fair launches, no bots, instant liquidity. Okay, I see what they mean by human-first, right? So no bots. Because there's a lot of sniper bots that'll get in and buy stuff right when it comes out. And I'm sure they've been making a lot of money with them. All right, so that's what Orca is. It's considered a made-in-America crypto. That's pretty cool. You have the Omni Network, which I think is one of those tokens been around for a long time. And maybe hasn't done a lot. But before I speak, let's check it out on the chart. Okay. Kind of right there. Oh, April 16th, 2024. Okay, so I am confusing this with another token. My bad. $126.1 million in its market cap, 436 by market cap. It must be a layer 1, right? Because I don't see any. Yeah, it's a layer 1. Interoperability. Okay, it's cool that they have that as a category. Maybe we will do a deep dive of interoperable coins. I don't know how many people would be interested in that, but we're deep diving in research. I guess a lot of times people are not all that interested until you show it to them. So not a whole lot since 2024. $25 looks like $27 what it came out at. You can see it's just kind of trickled down over time. And now we're sitting at $3.19, down 88.2%. If you know what this is and really believe in it, and I literally don't know what it is. And on this one, I'm not going to bypass the security feature. So we're going to move on from that. I don't know what that is, but it hasn't been around that long, 2024. We got Clearpool or Cpool. Cpool sounds really familiar. 129.1. Of course, I don't quite remember what it is. Decentralized finance. What other we got here? DAO, a maker, Launchpad. Launchpads have been known to do really well. It's on Ethereum and Solana. Okay, good places to be for Launchpads. Pump.fun, I think, is the Launchpad most people are using, though. And they're in the real world asset. Sequoia Capital, if you know what that is, they're in their portfolio. Let's go over to their website, check it out, see if we think it's any good. Want to verify that I'm a human here. Hopefully it didn't take too long. All right, let's go. And real quick, how many coins in your portfolio are considered made in America? Is that going to help you? Why would that be important? All good questions to ask yourself. So Clearpool is payment financing for the stablecoin economy. Really, stablecoin economy. That is interesting. A new credit layer for new payment stack backed by real world financing, enterprise PayFi infrastructure. Seems like maybe this is for more of your corporate setting. Access the new payment stack across ecosystems. So interoperable. Optimism, Avalanche. I mean, they're probably going to have a list of tons of different ecosystems from Web3 and Web2 companies, capital when you need it. So this is about supplying capital, aka liquidity, institutional lending. So yeah, this is very much in the institutional game of things. I think that probably bores your average retail person to death. So we will move right on from that. And what else do we have here? So here's one that comes up a lot, Osmosis, which I'm sure we've been over before. $124.9 million by market cap. Looks like it came out, or at least from when they started tracking it, July 27th, 2021. So quite some time ago. Ran up to, can we get the exact top, CoinGecko? $11.18. And just like a lot of charts we look at, is now sitting at 16 cents. You know, what happened? Did they lose enthusiasm? Did they have to spend a lot of time to build? Pause for a second. Let's think about this for a minute. So you're a project, you promised a lot of things, you have grand vision and idea, but what you don't have is capital. And so you decide, let's launch a coin, right, with this, I guess, movement, momentum, idea, vision, whatever you want to say, right? They got this vision. And so they want to bring in all this capital, right, so they can really build out the real thing. Because say maybe they're broke, but maybe they're passionate. Maybe it's a little bit of both. And so then they launch a token. They get everybody excited. They make a great website. They have this great narrative. They're going to feed all the hungry people in the world, whatever it is, right? They're going to build the coolest decentralized exchange, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, the market cap runs up, right? They keep some of the coins for themselves. I'm not saying that every person with a vision in blockchain is shiesty, because they're not. Some of them are rug pullers. Some of them just are failed projects, right? And that's all retrospective. We don't know if this is a failed project or not. So you get all this money and you rather go actually build the thing that you're talking about, or you now have money and you kind of already solved the real goal, which was to get money in your pocket and to be rich, whatever it was for you that really inspired you. And then, you know, some of them just do nothing, sell the token off, right? And then they have couple million or several $1 million and they're living good and they don't really care about the project. And then you have the ones that really had a vision, really wanted to do something, made a good team, and really planned on building it, right? And then they go ahead and build it out. And sometimes the chart will also look like this because it's not doing anything. People dump it. They sold to a bunch of VCs and inside investors early on to get capital, to get the thing rolling. Maybe they were advised to do that by big, you know, financial people. And then, of course, those people dumped it. And their chart looks like this. Now, if during this whole time period that they're going down here at the bottom and just like not in no man's land, if they're building, they could possibly come back up, right? And that, I think, is what a lot of people speculate on. I mean, 96.4% down. If you saw that in the crutch of the bear market, you'd be like, okay, that's like almost every crypto coin right now in the bear market. Great time to get in. And then we have somewhat of a bull run and your coin doesn't move. So why did I explain all of that? Just to kind of give you some insight into the different things that go on with coins and why their charts look like this. Obviously not financial advice. Let's go look at their website, right? Really was not trying to, massively put down this coin, because their chart just really looks like a lot of different cryptocurrencies. So discover and trade all of these different assets on Osmios. So what was the categories on Osmios? Did we go over that? Okay, it's a DEX. It's a decentralized exchange primarily on its own layer 1. So you got Cosmos. I think that's who they're mostly involved with. This EVMOS, which I'm not familiar with. That's very interesting. And Secret keeps coming up, and I know I should know what that is. I know I've been over it a million times. I just don't remember. I think it might even be a rebrand of something, but I should definitely know what Secret is. Just not coming to my mind right now. So top volume, Bitcoin, Cosmos Hub, Osmios, Cosmos. They all go hand in hand. I'm pretty sure that this is mostly within the ecosystem of Cosmos, right? And it's a decentralized exchange. There's not a ton to go over about this. We know its category, which is financial, niche, decentralized exchange. And that pretty much should allow you to categorize and put this where it needs to be in your brain. There's not a lot of price action or anything going on right now. Let's look at it. Just give it a fair shake. Let's go to the 3-month. Or the year even, maybe. Yeah. 7-day. Anything green? Anything green at all? The 24 hours green. It's up 1.2%. All right. Moving on. Thank you, Sourced and Sold. Glad to see somebody throwing a comment in here. Since we started this live stream, we're almost at about a month now of the Monday through Friday deep dive show here at Underground Crypto. We've been really fortunate to have a lot of people interact and be in the comments. I've really appreciated it. I thought I was going to talk to a room of nobody, like it's felt like mostly today. So whoever's watching, throw some comments down there. Be interactive. Let me know some projects, why you're into crypto, all of those different things. I would greatly appreciate it, almost for my own sanity while I'm doing the show, right? So Horizon, Zen, is the ticker. Sounds familiar, but I don't know exactly what it is. $7.15. Let's go to its max chart. And it looks like it came out around July 13, 2017. So again, another coin that's been around for a long time. So if you were investing and you were new and you had tokens that had been around since 2017, 2021, or you had a token that just came out and it's been out for, say, 2-3 months, what would you feel more, compelled or comfortable investing in? It's a thought, right? Because I'm sure there's people out there thinking that. $124 million in its market cap, only 21 million max supply. Looks like a Bitcoin type of thought there. 17.3 million in its circulating supply. It is on the base blockchain. I like to see that. Smart contract. ZK Knowledge Rollups is one of its categories there, and made in US. So it doesn't really have a lot of categories, but what is it, right? Category, what niche is it? Let's find out. So we have Dev Resource, the new era of privacy. Okay, is this a privacy coin? Well, coin. Dang, being sick, messing me all up. Welcome to the new frontier of Horizon, now on Base. Explore now. So is this a privacy coin for Base blockchain? I think that's really interesting as far as privacy coins as a narrative, as a category, I should say, in general. Are they going to survive? Are people really going to want to use them? Is the government's just going to hate them, regulators hate them, but not have the ability to shut them down? There are different things they can do, of course. How are they going to survive? Do we need them? There's that whole argument of who would use a mixer or a privacy coin unless you had something to hide. But they try to say that about all of crypto to begin with before most people were educated about crypto. They ran that same narrative on Bitcoin for a long time, that it was for Silk Road and people doing criminal stuff. Definitely need some water here. So Zen is live on Base. Horizon has successfully completed its migration, and Zen is now completely live on Base. Okay, so as an ERC20 token. So they must have been somewhere else first, right? Unlocking the next era of DeFi and privacy-ready dApps. So their whole thing is about privacy, right? And maybe that's what Zen is about, the peace of mind. That makes a lot of sense. The peace of mind knowing that your privacy is protected, right? So claim your Zen on Base. I don't know if they have an airdrop going or something like that. Going to do another audio check real quick. All right, cool. You got to do those periodically because sometimes audio be messed up and I don't know about it. So built-in privacy from the start, private DeFi and privacy pools. Okay. So our category is privacy coin, and our niche, I guess, would be like Base blockchain. Very interesting. They do have a roadmap. We'll just touch on that real quick before we run off here. Horizon is on a mission to make privacy practical, programmable, and powerful for every developer and user. Okay. That is not a roadmap. Oh, okay. I just didn't scroll down enough. That happens sometimes. Horizon next chapter on Base begins. So app chain testnet. So they're moving. It looks like right now, of course, they're in quarter 2 to quarter 3. So I don't know if that means they've got most of these done. I'm not sure. So Zen token claim deployment. So that kind of looks like what was on the beginning there. And I'm wondering if I could actually get in on that claim because maybe you just have to be active on the Base blockchain. So you have Zen, which got to be a lending protocol, right? Token claim security audits, Horizon L3 test launch, and ZK verify testnet integrations. Let's see if there's anything cool in the upcoming quarter 3 and quarter 4 that should be dApps released. Okay, so some dApps released. Confidential compute integration launch. Okay. Don't want to spend too much time on that and bore anybody. If you're hopping in the stream now, I greatly appreciate you hit that like, share, subscribe button. Drop a comment. Let us know why you're interested in crypto. And do you hold any US based coins? That is what we are going over today. So we got AI16Z. I think a lot of people probably know that coin. And there's 3 pages of this. There's no way we're making it through all of them, right? But we're going by market cap. So understand that we started at the biggest market cap. We're moving down. You know, the first one was like XRP or something like that. Probably the most well-known US-based coin with a market cap of $169 billion. And we're all the way down here looking at things around what? 269 million in its market cap. Telcoin. We went over a lot of these guys. So definitely appreciate you guys being here. Let's look at this EOS because I've heard of that many times. Trying not to go over the ones most people definitely know, right? We want to look at things that people probably don't know about. Chart, again, on the max log, looks like a lot of other charts. July 8th, 2017 for EOS. EOS is one I've heard many, many times, but never bought personally, just to be transparent. 323.2 million in market cap. And before we look at its website, let's look at its categories. So it says smart contract platforms. It's got to be a layer 1, right? Layer 1 index, but it doesn't say layer 1 directly. It's kind of odd. It's got the made in US thing. That's really why we're here. Blocks Hub, connecting you to the blockchain universe. Again, remember, this has been out for a long time. There's a lot of newer coins and things that have this narrative, but I think a lot of the newer coins are probably doing it better. That's just how innovation works, not trying to put this coin down if for some reason somebody watching this owns this coin. So discover our service. You got VoteMax, so some governance, blockchain consultation, infrastructure, EOS Wiki, decentralized exchange. Looks like they have one of those too. And cryptocurrency news. To me, this doesn't look all that exciting of a website. What is cryptocurrency? We're not even going to go there right this second. I will lose everybody. And as I think most people feel like they know what cryptocurrency is in the first place. Again, you got to remember EOS has been around for a long time. The narrative of what cryptocurrency in 2017 was probably very relevant. You know, when has it been since they have updated their website? I have no idea. So a lot of these I think most people are aware of. AMP, Credit Coin, XLR. Let's go over that one because maybe a lot of people don't know what that is. 253 by market cap, 29 cents, $307.3 million in its market cap with a chart that looks a lot like a lot of other charts, but only going back to 2022. Let's take a look at their categories. We got infrastructure, interoperability, bridge, governance, tokens, cross-chain communications, and then different portfolios that they're in, and of course made in USA, which is why we're on it. Let's go to their website. I know we've gone over this at least in the last couple of streams. The gateway to on-chain finance. You can see a lot of people with the finance narrative, or I should say category. Tokenize, trade, and earn yield through a single deployment platform. Everybody's trying to be the super app, the go-to, have everything together. Is that what we want? That's kind of centralization. Even if it's decentralized, you know, everybody going to one place technically is a centralized idea, even if the back end of it isn't centralized. And I have no idea if XLR is or isn't centralized or decentralized on the back end of it, right? Trusted by industry leaders, enterprise and RWAs, DeFi, wallets like Ledger, MetaMask, infrastructure like Filecoin. Glad to see Filecoin relevant somewhere. All of crypto at your fingertips. So let's read. XLR connects institutes to the entire on-chain ecosystem through one-chain integration. From token launch to trading and yields, everything flows through single, secure, compliant entry points. Okay, this brings up a really interesting thought that I want to share with you guys. So if XLR connects institutions, right, to the entire on-chain ecosystem, I'm sure there's other players that are willing or wanting to do the same thing, because with institutions comes big money, right? See, what are they by market cap here? 253 with 307 million. Okay, not too small, right? But they really have to capture that money in their token, right? kind of like the whole idea with XRP being, the big narrative, the back end for settling transactions globally with banks. Well, if the XRP token itself doesn't somehow bring in some of that money from those transactions into the actual token itself, then holding XRP is not going to do anything for your portfolio. And of course, they've swore that, as far as I know, they've said many, many times that the way that they have the infrastructure set up, they redid it at one point, is of course going to bring all that money in, a percentage of the transactions and stuff. Well, my point was XLR, for it to really go up and benefit from this big money institutions, although they're connecting on-chain ecosystems, they need to actually capture some of that, and they'll capture it, I'm sure, as a company, but then they need to put it back into the token for the rest of us who supported them and bought their token. Not saying I own this coin, I'm just saying if you did. And that's just a thought I want to share with you about how, a lot of this works as far as price go up, which is where most people are focused. I love the deep dive. I love to research. I'm here for the price go up. I have a portfolio, of course, myself, just like many of you guys probably do, but not everybody's going to be interested in the tech, raising their crypto IQs. My personal opinion, though, I think that come 10, maybe less, 5 to 10, 15 years from now, they're going to be kicking themselves because they're going to be behind the ball. They bought some, maybe they made a little bit of money, but the world's going to run away in technology so fast. Blockchain's going to be integrated, and they're not going to understand most of it. And they're going to feel like their grandparents there with their, new laptop trying to figure out how to operate Windows because they don't understand any of it. And that is even a bigger implication of why I think it's important to raise your crypto IQ, because we're not just talking about crypto. We are talking about blockchain technologies, and they're going to be implicated across the board from TradFi to all of this Web3 type stuff, and who knows what's next on the horizon. If everything is built off of this and a new whole market emerges 10, 20 years from now, and you don't understand this, you're not going to understand any of that stuff later. Not trying to scare anybody, but this is why I'm a little bit passionate about these things, why I am doing this live stream, right? Well, we've gone over a lot of things. Want to touch back on our crypto bubbles. Thank everybody for being here, of course. We are going to be doing this Monday through Friday, like I said. And want to just go back for a half a second over a couple of reasons why US-based cryptos are so important. And so the future of blockchain innovations, right? So tokenization of traditional assets, institutional custody, and figure technology IPO. So you have this US blockchain lender who's preparing to go public with a valuation of $4.1 billion. This is bringing the TradFi into crypto. And then we talked about how regulation impacts U.S. projects. This has a lot to do with why a U.S.-based crypto might be important. I use the example of, say you were looking between a token or a couple of tokens that you wanted to invest in, speculate on, not financial advice. But for me personally, I would be thinking if it's U.S.-based, maybe it's going to get some institutional money. America kind of known to have a lot more big money than other countries, depending on where you're from, no disrespect. And if that money starts flowing into this token because it's US based and is allowed in, the regulation versus another token that I wanted to invest in but can't really get that inflow of money because the institutions are not going to see it as a safe bet and regulated, meaning they can't be sued or whatever for holding it, they're not going to flow the money in there. And so I might choose that other token. That is the main reason why I chose this narrative. That, and of course, like I said before, it's been a narrative going around for a while that at some point we might see no tax or much lower capital gain tax on cryptocurrencies that are American based. At this point in time, that brings us to kind of our next point here. At this time, there's not exactly any legislation drawn up about this, right? So I asked ChatGPT about it, of course. This is where, you can do a lot of deep dive and research. Great for pulling information. Most people know that by now. But it says no federal tax exemption yet. So as of now, no law grants tax-exempt status for cryptocurrencies, even on those issued and operated entirely within the U.S. The IRS continues to treat crypto as property, which means any gain or income is subject to taxation, right? And that's kind of what we're hoping to change. Now, they do have this de minimis kind of idea, and there is legislation momentum around this idea. But what is de minimis, right? Tax exemption. It's basically like when you have a really small amount of money in something and they just don't even care to tax you on it, right? So a version of the Luminous bill that would exempt personal crypto gains below 300 per transaction, capped at 5,000 annually. So these are things that have momentum around them that legislators are talking about or thinking that they're going to maybe get a move on at some point. No timeline at all, right? But this is out there as a narrative and has more, I guess, how do I want to say it? It has more likelihood in the more short time period than a full-on tax-free thing, So other legislative moves, the big beautiful bill, the acronym is worse to say than the full thing, right? Does not grant tax exempts, but does exempt cryptocurrency transfers for remittance exercise tax. So it's an additional tax that the IRS would be dealing with, but it's been taken out because of this big, beautiful bill, right? The Genius Act, now U.S. law, sets up regulatory framework for stablecoins, mandating reserves, audits, transparency, but does not address tax exemption. So that was not in the Genius Act, if you were wondering. A lot of people have heard that narrative that I was saying. Maybe you clicked on this because you were hoping to have, some information on it. And in a way, I do have information for you here on it, but we have not seen that actually come up in legislation. But Trump did recently sign a bill preventing DeFi platforms from being classified as brokers. Also does not create any tax exemption for crypto, but it avoids an extra IRS reporting mandate. And that's pretty much the gist of it here. Just wanted to kind of give you what there is out there. Of course, it wants to tell me how to present that to the audience. There's no script here, guys. If you can't tell, we are just underground crypto, deep diving together, building a community of people who care about crypto and kind of being ahead of it. Another really big narrative or reason for doing these live stream is we want to uncover projects people don't know about before they know about them, because that's how you get the X's and returns on your gains. That's not financial advice. If you buy early on something, you're probably going to make more money than people who get onto it way later, like say when it gets on the Coinbase app. That's not advice. That's just a fact. And, we're looking for that kind of thing, but also we want to keep our mind savvy on categories and niches and narratives that are rolling through crypto, like AI agents were a short time ago. Are they coming back? We will start to see them really move. And that is why I will be implementing into the show many different things like crypto bubbles, the bubbles V2, and I have several other ones that I have to map out exactly how I want to use them in the live stream. But we'll be incorporating a lot of these things to help us know when the tides turn, when the new narratives begin to pop up and become more popular. Like, for example, AI agents is a good one. If you would have known AI agents were going to be really hot before they were really hot, you probably would have made a ton of money. And that is just speculative. It is what it is. Thank you guys for being here. Keep deep diving, keep researching, hop in the Discord, hit that like, share, subscribe. We have run really long on this live stream, but that's all right because I love being here. And I'll see you on the next one. Again, I still need something really catchy to say on the ending. Drop that in the comments if you're watching this later. What catchy thing should I say at the end of the live stream? Somebody told me I should say stay underground.